he beat me. It was all good. He won the title. I was like, okay, it's perfect. It's a perfect thing to happen because it sets up RW Mania. And I was like, what a genius idea. It's a good thing he won. So I bring up the idea to RCC, and he didn't want me to use the RC at Mania. He denied me, and he said that I couldn't use that at RW Mania because um, he didn't. He wanted the title to be defended. He wanted it. He wanted, like I said before, he wanted the kids to have hope that they would have a match, and that's when I went on my little rampage. I was upset that I couldn't use my RC, and I was gonna get that match. I fought for weeks. I would, RCC wouldn't even be at the show. SDR would be hosting, and I would be in the middle of the ring cutting the best promos of my life. I had people, calling me Hub Punk. I'm not even CM Punk. So that's definitely something that contributed to it. I'd say I cut the best promos of my life in that situation. I was put under pressure. I had to show out and prove that I was going to get this match. He wanted to give it to other people and, all this, bullshit and all this trash that he was going to do. He wanted Sonic to defend it. And I knew I was going to get my match. And at that time, I didn't want anybody else. I didn't want to fight anybody else because I knew that match was money. It's a dream match right there. Why would you even deny my RC to make RW Mania one of the best of all time with that main event match right there? And I don't know what was going through his head. You would think with an ego as big as his, he would have booked the match automatically. He would have said, Hub, you're such a smart man. Why couldn't I think of this? And so, eventually, after many, many weeks of me complaining, go out there, stopping the show, bombarding SDR to get RCC there to come talk to me, face to face, which RCC did a couple times. Eventually RCC gave in. Me and Sonic were even going to walk out before. We even talked about, we talked to RCC and said that, if I didn't get this match, then we were going to leave. Because I felt disrespected that I couldn't get the match against Sonic. That's all I wanted. I didn't care for anything else. It's like I needed that match. So, let up there. And it's funny, RCC, I think before RW Mania, RCC was talking about something. I remember me and Mikey were in a call with him, and he had all these plans for. It was before Four Circles, and RCC was gonna try to. He was gonna try to script me to win, and I didn't want that. He was gonna try to script me to win and have someone Mikey coming back and fighting me and all this bullshit. I didn't want that. I only wanted one match, so I told him not to do that. And eventually, after weeks and weeks of holding up his stupid show, the one that I carried on my shoulders, nobody else did what I did when I was champion. I entertained people, and after weeks of providing well-needed entertainment, and that whole storyline with me and RCC, when I would cut promos every week, that was like pure anger, because I was angry. I wanted my match. Everybody would have wanted it. Anybody in my shoes would have wanted what I wanted, and they would have got what they wanted. So that moment right there was already in the back of my mind, coming to RW Mania. And I think once the match was set, eventually he gave in. He set the match. Leading up to RW Mania, I guess something, the gears clicked in his head, and he realized how money this match was. And I felt kind of bad for Finn and PG because they weren't as promoted as much as we were. We were like, every single show we had some sort of segment, while they didn't really get much. And eventually, me and Sonic even told RCC, you got to stop promoting us. It's time for Finn and PG. And I guess that also kind of led to our decision. So I think since both stories are lined up, I think now is a good time to talk about the 28th.
Okay. Well, I'm thankful that you gave me that excellent story. Wow. Um, so I'm gonna go back to the Frocast again because I noticed some things as well with RCC, and I kind of wanted to kind of put that in there. But back on the Frocast when he was announcing the Hall of Fame inductees into the RW Hall of Fame, um, Sonic had mentioned himself, and we all kind of looked like, yeah, like why isn't he in there? And he kind of stuttered with the answer and was like, well, Sonic is still active and stuff. But on the other hand, Brock was still active as well. So Sonic, if you can answer, what was going through your mind when he said you weren't going to be on the Hall of Fame?
Man, fuck this nigga. That's what went through my mind. That's what exactly went through my mind. I mean, I did so much for RW. I carried it a lot of times, and I brought people from OPW to RW. I was a fucking world champ, son. I was in RW ever since RCC got ownership of that. I was an Impact champ. I was an IC champ. I was a tag champ. I was a Champions of Champions beforehand. I paid my dues before I was RW champion. I won an RW championship. I had a Hall of Fame career, and the fact that Brock got in and Brock deserved to be in, he definitely deserved to be in. I'm not going to argue that. But Brock and I should have gotten at the same time because I had a career comparable to his. While he won every single RW championship, I had a great career in RW, and I was in there a long time. And I mean, it was definitely disrespect. He didn't like me. RCC just doesn't like me. I don't know why he doesn't like me. He just doesn't like me. Maybe I'm too much of a loudmouth champion. I don't know. Maybe I just speak my mind, and I don't care about what anybody says. I don't care what anybody thinks of me. I'm just going to speak my mind no matter what. But it was already disrespectful. And I remember the day before RW Mania, it was TNX Fully Reloaded 2015. And he had the RW Mania press conference, and he didn't even give Brock a booth. But he was a Hall of Famer. He was Hall of Fame material, but not going to give him a booth.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
I was going to kind of mention it in line because, I got my own booth, which was, crazy in itself. But I had the Frocast, which had a lot of influence in what happened, RW at the time, and I kind of looked, and when I got there, I was like, where's Brock and where's Brock's? Like, where's, one of your prime Hall of Famers booth that you, like, would literally get down on your knees and suck his dick? Like, where was his booth? Like, he over, and then also because not just Brock was a Hall of Famer, Brock had a really hyped up entrance. Like, even though he showed it about 13 different times, so we all knew exactly what to expect. But, it was kind of shocking to me because, you give this man everything, but then you can't give him a simple thing as a booth. Like,
yeah.
Come on.
It was crazy. And I know when I was in the press conference, it was all right. I mean, a lot of fans, that really warmed my heart. It was a great experience. A lot of fans came up and say, yeah, you're inspirational. And I want to be like you one day. I remember I first saw Danny for the first time, and she was a avid fan of me. I saw Perla. I met her. I didn't meet her, but I knew her more in depth. But it was a lot of people I first met at that press conference, and I mean, it was crazy how big of a line I had. I didn't know I had that much of a fan base. I was a heel at the time. I was cutting promos left and right. I was being as mean as I could. I was being as vicious as I could. That was my best work. My feud with Hub was the best work I ever had. Best promo work. He brought the best out of me, and I brought the best out of him. But like the promo work I was doing, I had to keep thinking of what was better to do. I pulled up the Cam situation. He pulled up the X's, the 500 X's I have situation. We pulled up everything, and like it was crazy. I had to pull out new words out the dictionary. I had to freaking re-innovate myself in that feud, and I don't know if I'm gonna have the same feud ever again. I was crazy, and I'm probably not gonna be that good skill-wise again because that was my prime, and that was the last era of my prime I had from 2012 to 2015. But I know as soon as that press conference ended, I asked RCC to place everybody to TNX fully reloaded, and he gave me some attitude. He said, "I don't care." He was so defiant. I just asked him nicely. He said they'll leave on their own accord, and I was like, "Bitch, are you going to be this petty? You should respect the federation. You respect my federation because my federation is better than yours right now. It's
Right.
putting on better stuff, and I'm rising up and I'm eclipsing you." But he was so jealous. He didn't want TNX to survive, but I survived. I definitely survived, and I know that RCC, he definitely didn't like me then. And I remember from my RW Mania entrance, I had to track this man down to even speak about it. And even so, I told him every single day to change it to this one song. I told him to make it this specific entrance. I wanted to be the best entrance out there because I'm RW champion. But guess what? He didn't do that. He didn't do that entrance. He gave Brock, a non-title holder, even though he was deserving, he gave him the best entrance. And that should have been me. That should have been me. I was bitter like CM Punk was bitter in 2011. All these months, I was being shitted on. Even my No One Contender was being treated better than me. I was being crapped on, and I was upholding your Fed. I showed every single show. Every single show to put on the best promo ever. And he can't just give me an entrance. I had to track Droid, and Droid all illiterate self. You can't barely talk to him if I'm saying bud or son. And he didn't know anything either, and he was in charge of it. I tracked JDR down. He didn't know anything. I couldn't track RTC down. He didn't know anything. Nobody knew anything.
In JDR's defense, JDR was like, he didn't even. Okay, so the whole RW thing with JDR had built the RW Mania Arena, guys. So, but he had told me that it wasn't even finished when RCC wanted it. It was not done. Like, he was like, this isn't finished at all. And RCC kept pushing it. So that's why the arena, had the lag and stuff. Well, I mean, the lag was caused by the hacking and stuff, but I think that people, if you guys want to put JDR in the same boat as RCC, you got to realize that JDR had nothing to do with anything that RCC was doing. He was just building stuff. Like, he was just having fun. Him and Chan. That's what I got from that they were just having fun, and RCC was trying to, take advantage of that.
Yeah, definitely JDR. RDB Main was incomplete. It was not incomplete, but incomplete. It was incomplete the whole time. It wasn't even built. Like, I mean, when they built it, it wasn't even like finished at all, and they couldn't iron out the lag and all that, and it was stupid. It was absolutely stupid. I don't know why he would release that, and it wasn't even finished. But yeah, you can ask me the next question though.
Okay. This is like in depth. But Hub.
What's up?
All right, so I guess now we go closer to the event. I guess since we already did the press conference, and did you have anything to say about the press conference yourself, Hub? Like, did you see anything that you were like, what the fuck, man? Like, what are you doing?
I mean, Sonic basically covered everything I was going to say. I mean, we both had a decent amount of lines. I met a lot of cool people there, a lot of pictures. People wanted autographs. I think that's kind of weird, so I didn't really give them out. I don't really know how I can do that. But yeah, I saw that Brock didn't get a booth, and, me and Sonic fought for Brock. We were upset for him. I don't think he was as upset as we were. I just thought that he needed that exposure with the booth. I thought that it would really wrap up his RW career nicely with a booth. Didn't get one, but for the most part, the press conference was, it was okay. It's what you expected.
Right. Okay, so let's go to, of course, the day itself, the 28th. Now, everybody, of course, we've been telling everybody what happened. But I kind of wanted to get, I guess, you and Sonic's input, and then put a little bit of input of my own in, because, it affected me a lot that day because, I had to change it. I had to change my IP, change my Skype.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, it was regrettable. I shouldn't have put my Skype in chat, but, we live and we learn, and but RCC did nothing to help me out. Like I was literally like,
Yeah.
look, you're stupid. Like I don't have my TV's not working, nothing's working, and
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another boiling point was I remember when Peter Bates was first starting out. I remember I started it right after ORW had ended. Not the recent one, obviously, but before, wherein it should have stayed gone, shouldn't have came back, in my opinion. But um, I remember I had an idea in my head to make a little Raw MMA thing, and eventually I tossed the idea pretty early on, and then I made PWH. Cena, one of my best friends on this website, my first friend I ever met on this website. He's a helpful guy, so he helped me when I needed him. And I still respect him for that. He, gave me the tools that I needed. He gave me that old arena and that I used all the time. He gave me all the stages. He made the stages. PG2 helped me out. He made the ring skirts. But the one person that didn't help me out was RCC. And I think at the time, when ORW ended, that was when RW was still doing their little NXT thing. I mean, I went to a couple of events. I mean, they weren't bad, but that he started to run on the ORW time slot, and he knew I was gonna make a new Fed on that time slot. And back then, I mean, I considered that we were pretty decent friends. I mean, we got along. That was a little bit before things started to change for him, but I think he always liked me. He didn't like me as much as he worships Brock, but that's not Brock's fault. Whenever we say that he worships Brock, it's not offensive to Brock. I mean, I'm sure he understands it's not his fault. I'm sure anybody that was in his shoes would accept it, would accept being worshipped. But yeah, I mean, he didn't do anything to help me. I mean, he ran on my time slot. I tried to ask for help, tried to ask him to change show times, and he said no. The most he would help me out is put an hour beforehand. And the only reason I was concerned is because I gotta remember this was the time when RW was still pretty mainstream. People would go to anything that it had. A house show, freaking a live stream of some sort. They could have had like a house party, would have got 60 out of 50. I don't even know how that's possible. But they would find a way to do it. And I was a little upset because you gotta remember I never really owned a Fed before. This is something new that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to succeed, and I mean we were decent friends back then, so I thought that he would be able to help me out, and of course that he didn't, and he always challenged me. I think he didn't. Peter Bates was never as big as TNX, but was still growing, and maybe he saw potential in that, and he didn't want that to succeed and become as popular as TNX, which it never did. It was stopped too short. I ran out of time to start doing it, and it was a buried idea, but I had fun while it lasted. But the way that I was treated in that short time probably helped influence the 28th.
Oh, okay. So you're basically saying that PWH, the whole little the way you were being treated at PWH is main reason why the 28th kind of transpired.
Well, it's part, the conflicts that I had with him should have been easily resolved, but his ego was getting up there. It was a time when I guess he felt successful, and to transition to like before RW Mania, I mean, Sonic covered all those points too. The show definitely was not it was not ready at all. JDR did have fun building it, and RCC kept rushing him. And I think a common trend was that RCC would begin to brag about having an admin there. I mean, he swore by his heart one was going to be there. I mean, one was there, but we'll get to that later. He always kept bragging. And the thing I noticed most about him was he didn't as much do the work. I don't think people realize this. Like, he doesn't do most of the work that he says he does. It at the time it was Brent and SDR. SDR ran the shows. I mean, RCC was never there. You know, he was always he was off doing something else in college, which, you know, probably bullshit if you ask me.
Roblox University.
Yeah, exactly. You know, probably learning, you know, I don't know how to build or something. Because I mean, PK built his arena, his normal arena too. He still uses that. And you know, the show just definitely was not prepared. You know, he should owe Brent for the admin that showed up. Like I said, I'll get to that, you know, when we actually start talking about the show itself. But yeah, it definitely was not ready. You know, 100-person server should have been tested out beforehand. It was terrible. It was definitely the biggest bust I've ever seen in Pro Wrestling.
Well, it was a historic bust, as you know. We were the first sporting genre to get, you know, like a legit 100-person server, and Row Football hadn't achieved that, Row NBA hadn't achieved that, and it was beautiful that we could work so hard together to have a historic moment. Like the 28th isn't just a moment where Row Wrestling changed forever and all that yada shit. It's a moment when Row Wrestling came together as one, and we enjoyed what we had, like what was given to us by the Roblox admins. Like, even though the admin didn't stay, and I didn't believe that he was going to get an admin most of the time, until I saw. But it wasn't even an admin. That's the thing where people kind of blows me. It wasn't an admin. It was a community moderator. It was a community representative. It was like one of the devs basically. It was like what was his name? Rakumio? He'd make like Attack on Titan or something. I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, he was the one that gave us the place. Because he was allowed to have the 100-person server, so he had it up. And I mean, it was terrible. I mean, he didn't stay for that long. He stayed there for like what, 10, 15 minutes. He didn't stay long at all. And I mean, that's impressive. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're coming from. It is honorable that you managed to get, RCC managed to get that. But like I said, we don't know what was said to the admin. He could have said anything. I highly doubt that he just told him, hey, come to our wrestling show. It's going to be the biggest one ever. He could have told him some breakthrough that wasn't even true, which would make sense to why he left so early. I mean, I don't know what was said to him to get him to show up. But yeah, I mean,
could have said there was a hacker in the server.
Exactly. And I mean, I was on the same boat that you were. I didn't believe that any sort of representative, admin or community, was going to show up, and then one ended up did. So that was, it was a nice surprise, but even that alone can save the show.
Right. In light of all these things that that happened, if the events did not happen, if Sonic wasn't treated like complete shit, we didn't even get to what happened the day of RW Mania. Why you guys were like, all right, fuck it, let's do it. So could you explain to me, like, what you were like, what triggered it the day of RW Mania? What triggered the event?
I mean, it was, like I said, all the stuff beforehand.